Hey everybody, this is Petey from Spin Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis ready to rock.
today, since they've done really terrible jokes of saying it's the Spider-Man and Supergirl weekend of Spider-Man making 2 billion and Supergirl making 0.00 such and such billion, trying to make fun of the fact of people try to market the two together, which actually two superhero movies could be marketed together, but they're not from the same company, so there's no chance of that happening. But there were mistakes made, and I was thinking I could fix it. I think small things can work out to big things for DC, and understand that you had success with the Guardians, but not do the Guardians. Do a different locale that could be DC's all alone, right? Marvel's able to pull in all the stuff that they have because they've had all the stuff that was set up earlier, and they also, I mean, it's given to Feige, but they also had, the Marvel office talking with them, so they did have a Marvel office up until the war during Civil War between the Marvel office, which is, even though people could say, Ike was somehow helped put that together, but and Feige was with them, but he kind of went with the Russos, and the Russos went on to bigger success, and Feige went on to bigger success. But they have stuff they can draw on. They have the Punisher, they have the Hulk, all the stuff they're pulling together for Spider-Man, and Spider-Man was doing well for them, so there's nothing wrong with that. But then we have this. I say, I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, who is this girl? Who is the girl here? Why couldn't she have some cute outfits to walk around in Supergirl? So let's just watch this and see how pleasant Miley is,
And if I
right?
get one of these, never in my wildest dreams did I think I would have a figurine. I love these. Yeah, my form introduced. The bike is cool. The motorcycle is pretty epic.
Let's go back. Look, this is what we need to see her look like on film. She's not in costume. She looked like who we want to stay focused on, right? This is the big thing. This is what we want. We just show a shot and then let's show her in the rough here, like that sort of thing here. And it's like this is a movie and it's Supergirl. We're supposed to be having fun, right? They're looking like they have more fun here.
That was party. I think Krem looks terrifying, which is excellent. That's what you want.
I heard you were looking for me.
Oh, I go Crypto. Crypto's adorable. I never thought that I would be a toy as a kid. Wow. What a wonderful, weird life. These are really, really cool. Thank you, McFarlane. They're awesome. Let's get to it.
So, if I understand what you're saying is that we had a cute girl here, and we should have leaned more into the cute girl and less into making her look super busted. Is that what you're saying?
Not just about but grunge, like having fun. That also the other thing is like I think was it I think it's like Superman 3 with Byrne did with Superman and Apocalypse. Like the fact that when you get the costume under all the brightest costume looking pristine in comparison to all this grunge is is another way to go if this is your art direction. So it would really say something different than your, what's the name. So I think you don't want to play to you want to have her having fun. You don't want to have, I mean, I get the angle and it could be something, but it just was not the way to go. And that's the thing. I think what was it? And Perez was doing Wonder Woman. I think his issue 6, 4, or 5, where she is starting to learn the language, and she then who's that? Steve Trevor is coming by, and she she goes outside and she takes the gun from him, and she gets captured. And she has the gun, but she's in like a turtleneck and some jeans because they put her in some regular clothes, but she still looks like Wonder Woman. And that's the thing that Frank Miller was saying about Byrne when he was early. He was like, "See, this guy," he said, "they put his work in front of me, and they said this is the guy to beat," even though they weren't telling Byrne that. They were saying you're doing this wrong, that wrong, and that wrong, to Frank Miller when he comes in, this is the guy to beat, or be like him. And he's looking at him and said, this guy has them in regular clothes all the time, and they're instantly recognizable. And that's what you want. You want your character to be interested. The X-Men are on a ship, and they're in like kind of like a seaman's clothes, like just like sweats, and Colossus is that, so they all kind of stand out. So with that angle, I was going to use another example for that, where I was going to say, let's stop this share. We're going to share something that's not even superhero like, but it has actually it is superhero like, but it's not a superhero scene. It's from Too Close to Comfort. So it's the blonde here, and she's sitting here on the phone, right? So we have her chilling.
I guess you'd say I look okay in a bathing suit.
Right.
I have some that I really look great in, but my dad won't let me wear them.
Are you still on the phone? Sarah, I told you I was expecting a call from Roger. Now, come on.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Oh, San Francisco State. I'm a freshman.
Sarah, I'm tired of doing all the moving while you talk on the phone. If Roger's been trying to get through, the line's been busy, you're going to hear about it.
Okay. Hey, nice talking to you. Here's Jackie.
So here's a gag. She got the colors. This is what you want. And the thing is, you can't complain about this because this is what you see in you see a million times worse on Euphoria. Even though they're making her Karma, they having Karma hit Sydney Sweeney every episode, they're giving you this also. So it's like, hey, she doesn't have to be in that outfit. You could be in the cute outfit that Miley was in here, but you need the person to stand out. That's my first thing that I would do.
I must interject. See, this right over here, Too Close for Comfort.
Mm-hmm.
This is lightweight because on Euphoria, they literally have giganticism going on.
Yeah, they definitely did that.
Okay, so anybody who has a problem with this, again, you should be like out there protesting Euphoria. But hey, I'm with you. There are certain appeals and certain visual appeals that we need to have in the visual media. And it just wasn't. I get the fact that she's grieving. And I know that the grieving process can take a while. The grieving process for just one person can take a while. She's grieving the loss of an entire people, an entire way of life, her home. Okay. But does anybody in the film really understand that she's grieving, or why, or not really? And even when we're given the flashback sequences, they're not enough to us to make the connection as to the things that she's doing in the film, especially when she commits murder at the end. And it doesn't look like there's any growth. After a while, grieving plus time turns into wallowing. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like at the end of the day. And just because she is grieving doesn't mean that she has to do it in this particular manner. And good grief. They really went out of their way to give her like the Charlize Theron monster treatment. Like, how rough can we make this girl look? Yeah, you know what? We can make her look rougher. No, what? Don't comb your hair. No, don't put any makeup on. Don't worry, we'll put your makeup on, and we'll make certain it looks like you haven't slept in 3 years. Like, you just finished crying 5 seconds ago in every scene. I just don't think the viewers wanted to see that visually, and couple that with her actions. I just, they didn't learn their lessons from Man of Steel. They did not. People want heroes to be heroic. And the other problem that she has, it would be something else if she was Batgirl, Green Lantern Girl, Wonder Girl, maybe she could have gotten away with it to an extent. She's Supergirl. We already had a Superman movie where we saw someone whose morality was above reproach. Why do we now want to see his cousin copping a squat to take a pee in this movie? It's so discordant. We get the whole thing of, we want them to be different. We want them to be different. I think we want them to be different in terms of certain aspects of their character, but not discordant in terms of their morality, which is what they did.
Second thing that I would do is, I would have to kind of lessen the female trafficking and they can have people being kidnapped, but the start of the movie getting kidnapped by Who else? This guy. Have him, he's a bounty hunter, and they're bounties for the girl. The girl can ask for help. If you want to do, I'd rather Supergirl be there to help, and then Lobo captures both of them, don't care about what they're going to do with them. And then you can have guys on there so you don't have to go through that he's terrible and he's trafficking women. So you just have him capture the two of them, that immediately throws her into the fight, and then you can do whatever movie you want. But have him do that, then of course, have him come back later, but have a big fight with her and him early on, and then at some point to get some sort of power dampeners to capture with, or some sort of ruse, or that sort of thing. Takes her, drags her back, leaves her on this thing, doesn't care what's going to happen to her, and then somehow bring him back later, or her come to him, having to, beat his hide after this, to keep him the anti-hero. So when he shows up next, you have the push, when you have a reason for him to be here, but showing to him that he's, you're not putting him here as, you're acting, you're PG-13 in him, and you got, what's the name, going to the bathroom. So you want to have him do something, and that's what he started. You saw him taking the girl from Omega Man on the bike in the front. And, that would be extremely visual with the Supergirl costume. But you start that way, and then, Supergirl cleans up everything and then comes back for him later in the movie. And then we, come back home. But you need to better utilize him. And I know people are like, well, we can't have him trafficking. So you get rid of the trafficking part. You just put some guys on there. They're not using them for sex anymore. But he's a bounty hunter. So you have the guy you wanted. You're reusing him, even though he was the Lobo on the sea. Now he's Lobo, and he doesn't do anything but smoke cigars and show up with a turn of the bike. So you need to do something with him, and that would get you into your story and get Supergirl into with this girl instead of playing out, I don't want to do it, but I'll help you, but I still don't want to do it, and then she gets forced into it. So those are my two things. I'm not getting into going through a whole new script. I don't have a story, but this is your story. I also would make it brighter, make the thing a whole lot brighter, and possibly have some of the regular DC aliens that we see in the more popular books, like the ones we see in the Legion. It was Legion 89 and 90. Those ones where Lobo comes from. Some of the ones that we see in from the regular DC unit all over, but the Titans are the ones that are too popular, so they kind of utilize a lot of the regular aliens that we'd always see. And you can throw in some of the other aliens that I haven't brought up, but you want to see it brighter, you want to see more, you don't have to go full on Batman color, but you can do, actually the thing is like this. If you see, I would say, you look at, and this is not space, but the color that they're using in Spider Noir for the regular thing, they finally figured out how to make color pop and not have it turn into Batman or Dick Tracy. Where Dick Tracy was something for its time, they finally figured a way to just let it pop a little and not go crazy. And imagine they can kind of use that for space, and DC find to add more color but not go full on Dick Tracy. So those are things, my three things I would do. Any thoughts of how you would fix it in any way you want to?
No, I don't think it'd be much different. I don't think it'll be much different than what you said. Definitely, you can improve. I would have taken Lobo out. He didn't need to be in this movie. Mm-hmm. Serve no purpose. Definitely no murder. Improve the brightness. Give some color at the end of the day. Stop having her walk around in this trench coat as opposed to being Supergirl. Like, for some reason, the outfit that you gave her is wrong. And if you're going to maybe a better story to adapt, even though that's tough for Supergirl because she doesn't really have any seminal stories. But if you're going to adapt the story that works for the character. In the actual story, Supergirl never commits murder. It's the other girl who commits murder. Here, you decided to shift it to her with diminishing results. And I was on record saying several times that Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, was not a good story. It was not a good story. Why do you want to adapt this? If I had to do it myself, this would have been the whole story of her living on Argo, the last days of Argo, Okay, her coming to Earth, and then in the last act, maybe her first, pretty much a Superman. It would have been like her first adventure as Supergirl at the end of the day. I would have just mirrored that, and she would be a nice, likable, a nice, likable young girl. Everybody would have liked her, that type of stuff. You know, and no competition with Superman on any level. I'm not going to throw in, oh, everybody likes you better than Superman. So Superman go like, huh? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Oh, everybody this and that. Like, no, just let her do her own thing without competition with her cousin, with Superman. Because to be quite frank, there is no competition. It's gonna be Superman at the end of the day. But you do those things, I think you would have a better chance at a suitable first movie. If you were looking to build this as, franchise, when I say that, I mean you want to get 3 films out of it. Otherwise, this is just a misstep. This would have been equivalent to the Marvel Universe starting, and after Avengers, that big hit movie, what's the next film we get? We get Hawkeye. Nobody wants to see Hawkeye in a solo film. Okay, I think still nobody wants to see Hawkeye in a solo film. So you try to match up the momentum that you have of whatever movie you just did with something that's suitable to go with something that's suitable to go along with it. Uh, they're still making not just the Man of Steel mistake, but also the DC Comics mistake of trying to tack older and grittier with characters that tend to be very much ideals. These people are paragons. When Green Lantern gets the ring, Green Lantern gets the ring, he becomes a Green Lantern, he becomes a superhero. He doesn't need to be talked into it. He doesn't need training. This is somebody who's just a born hero and has, great morality. This is not a Marvel hero that we're like, okay, maybe we got to screw up a little before we get it right. The DC heroes pretty much know what to do. They know right from wrong. And that's part of the reason why they're entrusted with the powers that they have. That Supergirl's in the same universe, you've got to understand that and just treat the character accordingly. But other than that, yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that you could have used here. The visual appeal of Amelia Alcock. She's a pretty girl. I don't see why they shied away from that. That is something that you use. Use uh the visual appeal of a pretty girl, use the visual appeal of a handsome guy. That's just how good movies are made at the end of the day. It's called casting. So I don't understand why they wanted to make her look so rough. Putting her in a storyline, Supergirl, not Amelia Alcock, but putting Supergirl in a storyline where your introduction to the character can be anything less than positive, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, if they adopted your changes and definitely did not use that story, we might have had something a lot better. They probably needed to just work for something whole cloth and really just try to say, hey, I mean, it's like a debutante party, if you will, where I'm coming out for the first time into society, into adult society at the end of the day, and you're trying to put your best foot forward. This was not it.
Well, when you were saying the Argo thing, I was thinking, one of the things they also could have done, because I like the idea of her having some grief, but having her instead of the moment when kind of start. Well, even though I like seeing the kind of so like almost like a bottle city, which I feel like they're gonna play with later. But if she got on Earth early, and then she adopts, we jump to her, first thing of trying to save someone, and the adulation that she gets from the public would be so much that it kind of carries her for the first period of the movie. But then she has just not a moment of grabbing the bottle and drinking, but kind of she has a moment of going out into space, and that leads her into and having that moment of maybe a tear, and that leads her into the Lobo stuff. But at the same time, I remember in Superman, I was like, well, they're gonna get if you know the term, the WGW. I was saying Supergirl wasted. I thought they were gonna do that, not drinking with a reason for it that she hates that. I thought they were just giving us a party girl. I thought that's what they were gonna go for, and I was like, well, that would be interesting to see in film. Then it turned into, I hate myself. That's why I'm drinking, and that sort of thing, rather than a, college girl, out to have fun. That's what. So hey, where's my dog? That's what the energy felt like, and that's what I was saying I was gonna see. But since they introduced this other thing, then she's like going through her dark phase, which is like and I said it in our video before, it's really like it's like the Human Torch. And I always say, outside of was it Dory Evans and Crystal, the Crystal story is more to Crystal Marion with Quicksilver. That's more to just so Johnny wouldn't grow up. That's to say, she gets married, and because he would obviously have married Crystal, so they to not have him grow up. But in the later stories, where I think when Byrne would have a moment of serious, he would especially with the Fantastic Four, he would go back to being Johnny around them, and then when you see him without them, he would be kind of this this one of the tops, which they showed in the early ones. He would be this fun sort of character, and then he's in Spider-Man. Peter Parker's giving up Spider-Man, and he's like inspiring Peter Parker to stay being Spider-Man. So one of the things you really can't really figure is having a moment of dark thing, because they couldn't do it with they shouldn't do it with Superman. They shouldn't really do it with her either. So that's only there's things just to make a step, and if it fails on the merit of being fun and maybe today's kind of fun, then it fails on it, but not fail on trying to be grunge and all this other stuff. It's just a sad going, and then she has to take all the heat, all the other negative stuff, besides the comments she was trying to say, which of course they tell you to say this nonsense, and then you feel like you're connecting, but it's setting these people up it's setting these actresses up to be, the lead, the mainstream, when you want a successful film. What do you want? You don't hear, you hear, Mark Hamill come in and say, hey, George Lucas said this was a 3-part thing, and we're doing the last one. And he's like, I'm just saying what George Lucas said it was going to be. He's like, well, can't you guys do more? He's like, no, George wants to do other stuff. They're not asking them, how would you save the world? First thing, get rid of men. Yay! And then boo. Then the girl's like, why is she saying that? We don't want to get rid of men. Yeah, she's weird. Sorry that reenactment. Sorry, but anyway, that's how it could go. So I think with the talent that you have involved, the fact that you have James Gunn and the people that are involved here, they could have made something, but they're trying to, get something that was close to the Guardians, where, what people connected with the Guardians was the fun and the characters. The last one is going dark, necessarily wasn't giving us what we would love, but at the same time, it is what it is. So that's my last thing. Probably won't get another one, but we get another Superman, and hopefully she'll appear and they can redeem her character in some way that way. Any last words?
Well, the piece of good news that we do have from Millie Alcock and Supergirl is that this will not be the last time we see her. She'll definitely make appearances in other things. I doubt she'll get another movie, but at the very least, they will have a chance to rehabilitate the Supergirl character, so they can get it right. That she should not just be abandoned to herself. She is, crucial to the Superman mythos, so she should not just be abandoned to herself, and for the rest of the time, she's always at the Fortress of Solitude babysitting Crypto. Mm-hmm. Okay, you screwed up, work the character back in, do a good job.
And the testament to it's not the characters. She is not the Howard the Duck of the DC universe. They didn't make her into a character that became as big as Deadpool, but the idea of how they dealt with Deadpool in the Wolverine movie shows you that they weren't working with the character, they're working against them. And the things they didn't like, they made it a million times worse. They did all these dumb things, and it didn't even play well on film. So to Hollywood, it's like Deadpool's dead. Like there's nothing we could do with him. He was terrible. But that's like saying, like to Hollywood, like the island was terrible. We want to do Logan's Run again, but the island was Logan's Run, so we can't do Logan's Run ever. And if we do it, we have to change it. that sort of thing. But Hollywood wants to do it, but they're like, you can't because the island failed so miserably, and that's what it's on. So you can't follow that sort of thinking. Um, I can't think of anything outside of them trying to do the Hulk movie over, or even taking an actor. But yeah, that's it for me. A bad outing, and it'll take another generation for them to do another one. So you should think you don't have many times at bat with these things, especially on the female superhero movies. So you want something that's going to connect and not be something that's going to be like, what they did.
Are they kidding? They are never going to make another Supergirl movie. Ever. They are never going to make another Supergirl movie. The first one was what, 80, 82, 83? So we've got all of those years, well over 40 years. Well over 40 years between the last one and this one. You had a suitable TV series because it was on the W, because it was on, was it CW? Because it was on the CW, and it was a superhero thing that they were able to go with. They're never making another Supergirl movie. Never. They're never going to forget this. It wasn't just that the movie was unsuccessful, the movie bombed, and it bombed at the worst possible time. It's the second movie outing. They're never going to make another Supergirl movie.
Yeah. All right. So, Hollywood, this is not our one page, first, page one rewrite, but it's very simple things they could have done to get the energy back and figure this thing out and take the money. Well, if anyone, actually used the money for the stuff that's in there, because it didn't look like it. You can do right, but they can't get up here at bat, and then now every female superhero movie is judged upon this movie, which is that is terrible. So not terrible, but not the best outing for a Supergirl. All right, Spinner Rack is
out. Later days.
We're out.